It's been a very long freaking day. I am literally dead. No, Starsky, you're not dead. You can do this. Henry, I am dead. I am deadly tired. No, you still can do this. You can stream tonight. Otherwise, I will tell everyone that you watched Looney Tunes movies. Oh, shit. All right. I will do this. Okay, hello, my dear friends. Operator Starsky in the chat. It was a very long day, but regardless, I am happy to stream for you, my friends, because today we have some very, very interesting updates coming from United States. And as always, it's a big pleasure to see you, my dear family there in the chat, Martin and Eric and Hot Mess and Newman, of course, and also Putin Huilo, of course, it's Huilo, I mean, Elizabeth, well, go ahead. That's a nice one. No Savage and David. That's Whiskey Tango Foxtrot situation right there. And David and Opal Guy and Monica and everyone else. And it wasn't me, of course. Oh, and Ellie there. All right. And Larry and Bridget and who did I miss? Chester. It's been a long day. It's been just so tiring. But let's jump and check out some news, not only from today, but also from yesterday, because generally speaking, yesterday I was also about to stream, but I really found myself sleeping during preparing the stream. All right, let's roll. So yesterday, Ukrainian troops hit Russian Smolensk aviation factory. We have even specific maps where exactly it happened, and this very factory is producing all sorts of aviation equipment, and also it modernizes aviation systems, missile systems. It has lines for combining high precision Russian weapons. High precision, my ass. Oh my god, friends, I laugh so much when I read about the high precision Russian weapons, but anyways. And also cruise missiles and different components for aviation complexes. So all that goodness went in flames yesterday. You can see this on your screens. And all this, my friends, without even having Tomahawk missiles. Also yesterday, 24th Separate Assault Battalion IDAR, together with 34th Separate Assault Regiment, liberated Mali-Sherbaki in Zaporizhia region. Here we can see those guys. So they are reporting that they are happy to report that as a result of this joint operation together with their comrades.
24-го окремого штурмового батальйону «Айдар» населений пункт Малі-Щербаки під контролем Збройних сил України.
Yeah, so the settlement Mali-Sherbaki is now under control of the armed forces of Ukraine. One thing I talked about today during the interview with Times Radio, by the way, you might want to check it out. One thing I talked about was that it's very interesting to observe that two things are happening actually right now at this very moment. Why am I so far away from where I need to be? First of all, we can see that Russia is pushing with whatever they have. Hello, Nura. They are pushing with whatever they have, and they cannot reach much. Go fast. Hello, by the way. That Opal, all those 47s, my friend, that's not 47s. I can see AKM. Wait a second. Let's check this out.
Раді доповісти.
I can see AKMs and basically AKMs. That's not 47s. That's slightly modernized 47s. Anyways, one thing that is cool about those specific rifles is that hello Martin, is that and Sparky. Cardiff here, my dear friends. Oh my god, I'm so happy. I hope, guys, that you are doing well and you don't have to do prostitution in order to feed yourself, because that's exactly what Russians were saying literally a couple of years ago. So I will go to Cardiff one time, I swear. I need to visit this heroic place. Maybe do some prostitution myself, probably, you know, in order to feed myself. AKM 7.62, much heavier bullet, and it's much better for fighting in the forests, in the tree lines and things like that. Inside of buildings, not so much, but inside of forests, yes, that is perfect. So speaking of what I observe, Russia is pushing with whatever they have. They cannot do anything. They cannot achieve any significant gains right now. At the same time, we can see some small Ukrainian counteroffensives here and there. They take several kilometers here and there, which is again 100 times faster than Russians. But at the same time, of course, it's not that fast, it's not that significant, all right, compared again to the Russians, because there's more Russians, obviously, and they literally burn much more people. Ukrainians bite here and there, but on the other hand, you know, considering the fact that there's so many Russians against us and so many more heavy weaponry that Russians have, and as well as drones and stuff, it's very, I would say, encouraging. And switching to our news, such things like this is very, very encouraging to see. The other day, I think a lot of you already saw this one, this cringy interview with Peskov. It's very funny, actually, when you call him Peskov instead of Peskov, because it means basically the same as huilo. Oh my god. So basically, he had an interview where he said that Ukrainian tomahawks, if they are in Ukraine, can actually not only carry like nuclear weapons, but also dirty bombs. And it's so interesting to see that he actually mentioned dirty bombs, because this is, you know, like that kind of myth that originated in Terrorussia actually many years ago. And it's always funny to hear when they mention actually dirty bombs. But you know, one thing, I'll probably show you like dirty bomb, all right? Like for example, oh my god, it's so hard to type without keyboard. Anyways, so that's, for example, that is like Russian chmobik. That is definitely a dirty bomb, I tell you that. Or like I don't know. This is 100% dirty bomb right there. All right, you can see it on your screens. That's like natural dirty bomb. What else do they have? Like there's a bunch of dirty bombs on your screen. Again, this is exactly what they look like. Terror-Russian dirty bombs. The hell is this? The hell is this like intellectual face of a Russian terrorist? Oh my god, that's, you know, when you look at a Russian especially, like a very, very typical representative of their youth, you can definitely tell that he's Russian, because you will not see any signs of IQ in there, and he will be doing some freaking ridiculous things. What else? Who the hell is that? Those like... So you probably understand what I mean when I say dirty bumps. We have interesting update coming from the beautiful Germany, where Bundestag actually cancelled immunity for two members of the parliament from AfD. And AfD, as you probably remember, it's Alternative for Deutschland. It's a party that is known for being like ultra left and ultra right at the same time, and also, surprise, surprise, supporting Russian terrorism. They go to Russia and back all the time. So two of them are actually deprived of their immunity, which actually means that criminal cases may be launched against them. They may be pressed with criminal charges. So, deputy leader of AfD, Stefan Brandner, already more than a year is having a trial with an editor of Der Spiegel, Anne-Kathrin Müller, which I absolutely enjoy this stuff, because one thing that taught me as a former communication expert is that you never fight with journalists, you never sue journalists, you don't do that, all right? So just give up and be friends with journalists, otherwise they will eat you alive and you will not like it. But welcome to the real life. So he often called her fascist. Very funny, actually, hearing that coming from an AfD person. And also he called his subscribers to basically do the same, calling her fascist. Oh my God. By the way, in Germany, it's very, very hard. I don't know, in Ukraine, for example, you go on a street and you say, I don't know, our minister is a mother. In Germany, you cannot do that, because if you say it to somebody, or if you even flip somebody with a middle finger on the street, they can literally sue you. This is so beautiful. But the other one is Matthias Mostov, expert of the foreign politics from the AfD, who openly proclaims pro-Russian views, and also he is accused in throwing Nazi salute in one of the Reichstag halls almost 2.5 years ago. The dude throwing Nazi salutes, such a great expert of foreign politics from, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Jesus. Remember we talked with Pekka Vatnik Soup, where we came to conclusion actually that it's like a job requirement for you if you want to, for example, get recruited, all right? Get recruited by the Ruski world and all that shit. You need to have something wrong about you. You should either be an imbecile or throw Nazi zigas or those Nazi salutes or whatever, or do other unspeakable crimes. So we have some very interesting map showing the regions of the terrorist federation that were that's suffering from fuel crisis, and also, for example, if we take a look at all the red triangles, let me turn off that stuff for it just briefly. So if we take a look at all the red triangles, we'll be able to see all the sites that were actually hit by the good Ukrainian drones and missiles. We're talking specifically about the Russian oil refineries, different fuel storages, so there's quite a few of them. And also we can see the green triangles that were not hit yet. All right, so we will talk about this in just a bit. Okay, so what else do we have? This video is actually extremely crazy because during one of the attacks in Zaporizhia, a fighter of the 1st Assault Battalion of 210th Separate Assault Regiment, call sign Technician, saw an enemy UAV which was literally flying towards his positions and literally shot it down with a single shot. Check this out. And he goes bang, and that's it. That's it. Like, it took me like 5 shots to shoot down Ukrainian drone back in 2017. 5 shots. Yeah, but this one was flying closer, of course. I mean, already back then, our operators flying our reconnaissance drones, they would not risk flying it so close to our positions because they knew that something bad might happen to their precious little Phantom 3, I think. Yeah, didn't save them anyways. We have a message from Emmanuel Macron on Twitter, who says that if Russia, I will translate it for you from French, who says if Russia will keep continuing its military stubbornness and will keep rejecting the peace talks, Russia will pay price for that. President of France said that he talked to Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president, and he said, speaking of the peace talks in Gaza, he said war must finish in Ukraine as well. And also President Macron condemned Russian strikes on critical infrastructure, which leave Ukrainians without electricity, basically on a brink of winter. And France, which is something so cool, I mean, I literally want to smile so wild when I read things like that. Macron said that France, together with other partners, is working on humanitarian aid to help with basic services. He says France stands together with Ukraine like never before. Guys, like, I don't know. I mean, it's touching. In the meantime, in the land of balalaika, roosters made from shed, and other crazy things, of course, we're talking about the Terrorist Federation, in the Gosduma, the Terror-Russian so-called parliament, they decided to discuss the possibility of a response fire against American cities if the tomahawks are used. So, in case Ukraine uses American ballistic missiles Tomahawk, okay, one thing. This goes from Gazeta.ru. Gazeta.ru is like a Russian newspaper, all right? Like a legit Russian newspaper, meaning that it's shitty like everything else in the Russian Federation. I thought Tomahawks were cruise missiles, but like, who fucking cares, right? Cruise, ballistic, whatever. Like, seriously, they say that Tomahawks are ballistic missiles. So they say that in case Ukraine uses American ballistic missiles, motherfucker, learn, open Wikipedia, learn about these missiles. You stupid fucking moron. You can create such an incredible thousands of fakes, about yachts of Zelensky, about Ukrainians eating like Russian toddlers and things like that. Fucking read the Wikipedia and learn about the Tomahawks, the missiles that will be bringing you happiness very, very soon, hopefully. I have no words. So, in case those missiles strike terror Russia, the Moscow might respond and hit the Russian cities, according to the member of terror Russian parliament, Alexei Zhuravlev. So, basically, if this sounds like threatening or whatever, they were saying absolutely the same when they were giving us HIMARS systems. They were saying absolutely the same before Ukraine received ATACMS. They were saying the same before Ukraine received F-16s. They were saying the same before Ukraine received Bradley, Leopard tanks, Abrams tanks. They were saying the same before Ukraine received Mirage aircraft, and basically they will be saying the same before they collapse. And Subtle Knife actually mentions something very, very important here, because every single time Russia is threatening to strike some Western city like Brussels or London or Washington DC, usually they strike fucking Voronezh for reasons I cannot explain. Usually it's always Voronezh, like either some kind of missile lands there or like bombs accidentally gets detached or whatever, or maybe it's like just their sort of like sublimation, when you cannot do shit and you strike your very own city because of this absolutely uncontrollable rage that you have. And we have Ivan Hashina. Hello, brother. Привіт, братику, як у тебе справи? Сподіваюся, що все добре. Коли ти вже чат навчишся читати? Та отож навчився вже, братику. Скучив шалено. So, whenever something happens in the terror Russia, whenever they want to, they have this Orthodox Russian rage, даешь Washington, Brussels, and they fucking hit their own Voronezh, and it looks so good every single time. So, another update, I'm sure that you've already heard about this one. A terror Russian submarine all of a sudden poked out of the water not far from the French coast. And the official message was basically that they had some kind of malfunction on board or whatever. I have no idea. But the reality is that this very submarine is, I think that our biker friend from United States would probably explain more about that one. Maybe not. But this one is designed to carry the Caliber cruise missiles, and basically the very fact that this submarine surfaced so close to the border and to the coastal waters, and there's also, you can see the NATO ship over there on the background. Is that Perry frigate? Something like looks kind of similar to me. I might be wrong though. No, I think it's not. Perry has that cannon there on over here somewhere. Anyways, I think that it was, at the same level as, for example, those Russia's Green Man on the border with beautiful Estonia, but we will talk about that just a bit later. So, what else do we have? We have, oh my god, this absolutely amazing firework. Again, guys, I think that a lot of you already saw this one. And basically what it is the Feodosia storage for fuel, right, in the Ukrainian Crimea that is currently temporarily occupied by Russian fascists. So it's basically it. It was struck several times. Today, I reported that on the UATV, if you watched it, I reported that 5 tanks were destroyed, but actually the OSINT shows that 11 fuel tanks were destroyed. 10 of them were actually full. And you can see the proof that they were full on your very own screens, my dear friends. So that stuff was impressive. And Feodosia storage was burning for probably a whole week already. And tonight's strike literally finished it. Fatality, my dear friends. Here we check this out. This shit is infernal, my friends. This shit is absolutely insane. Look at that beauty. Oh my god, it looks like from, I don't know, from a computer game. Anyways, so Markus Fraunmeier, the deputy of the AfD, is planning a visit to the terrorussia in the observable future. He said that he is planning to go there during the springtime, and he motivates his decision with the claims that he wants the channel for communication to stay open. The channel for communication to stay open. So this is what they call it nowadays. I don't know. In my times, back when I was a bit younger, we called prostitution in a bit different terms, But that's interesting. Channels for communication to keep open. Dude, go to Dagestan, all right? Go to Dagestan. They will give you such a wide channel of communication. They will enlarge it so much so a whole freaking ladder will pass through. I tell you that. You will learn what the sex tunnels are. And switching to other news. I wanted to talk about this one, and I forgot why. Yeah, I remember why. So, the very idea, I was reading this article, and the very idea actually is genius, because we're talking a lot about the conflict in the Middle East between Israel, Gaza, other countries, and the more you think about it, the more you understand that actually it's so hard to establish peace between both countries, because there's atrocities, and they just overlap. At the same time, the insider actually shows as an example France and Germany, because after the World War II, and France and Germany, if you read history, they were always fighting. For different reasons, they were always fighting. They were always rivaling. Oh my God. I don't know what the word is, but you understand. And it was like that since freaking Middle Ages. And after the World War II, after realizing the horrible consequences and the horrible results that the wars like that may bring, France and Germany not only decided to, okay, let's step back, let's think, let's come up with something better, but they also started improving each other's institutions and partnership, and based on this partnership, the integrational unity that emerged basically became the European Union as we know today. And this is the beautiful example that countries like Ukraine and Poland, even though we had some fucked up history, guys, you don't imagine what sort of like atrociousness was happening between our countries, literally, because those were like attacking people because they were not Catholic or they were considering them like lower race. Those were killing back because like they were killing back and forward. So in the end, there was this absolutely horrifying wound that took a lot of years to heal, actually, for us, for Ukrainians, and for Polish people. And today, probably, the very fact that Poland supports us since day one of the Russian hybrid war against Ukraine, since 2014, and all the way into 2025 is one of the evidence that we can actually do that as well. And we can actually forget about those crazy quarrels, between us, between friends in Europe, because Europe is our home and there is no other home. There's no way to run from planet Earth. So this must serve as a great example for us, the example of France and Germany, the example of Ukraine and Poland. And we must take this as an example of building stronger and more consolidated society between European countries. This is something I dream about, actually. And what else? This one actually made me cringe, So Kremlin wants to proclaim the foreign toys a channel of propaganda. In their terror-Russian Gosdura, they want to offer to pass the foreign toys for kids through a mandatory expertise, through a mandatory assessment. And they also want to increase the taxes and also invest more into Russian manufacturer of toys. And they also mentioned that this should be done under in frames of developing traditional values. Developing traditional values in the terrorist federation. What kind of toys do you think they must manufacture? My top 3 is literally toilets, air conditioners, toilets, air conditioners, like toy, like children would be like fighting each other, shooting each other, like toy guns, and fighting for toilets. Who snatches the toilet, for example? Because why not? If they want to promote traditional values in Russia, they must use like best practices of the terror Russian army, like snatching toilets, snatching animals from the local zoos, like that raccoon, for example. Snatch raccoon, all right, or snatch a toilet, something like that. I think that would be great. So that's top 2, and 3 is probably like tap in the sink. That would be, I think, very interesting. Plastic AKS, look, they already have, they have a lot of that shit. But generally, maybe Mosin. Mosin is very close to Russian traditions, even though it's not like really Russian shit. But anyways, Mosin, because it's old, it's older than 100 years. Russians use it. Mosin would be actually a good idea if their kids played, like, not like Armata tanks, but Mosins. As for Armata tank, they can actually make, this absolutely beautiful game of like tow the Armata tank with your donkeys or like with your tractor, for example. Because the only way to bring Armata tank to the front lines is actually tow it with either a tractor or a bunch of donkeys. Donkeys also can be very, very good. Guys, there's so many cool toys that they can actually manufacture for their kids that will promote, like natural Russian national values, like atrocities, war crimes. I don't know, you name it. It's so good. It will be so good to see. I can actually help them. I can even like write a list of stuff that they can produce for their kids that would reflect, Russia's everyday life. All right, like steal money from your people, steal money from your citizens. All right. Hello. Okay, just a second. Paul will join us in just a while. Okay, my friend, if you are watching this, just wait. Let me copy the link for you. All right. And there it is. How about wooden shacks? Generally speaking, yeah, they could have like houses, like legit houses, only without sewers, for example, because why not? All right, and we have Paul with us. Just a second, Paul, are you there? Okay, here we are.
One moment for the headphones.
Oh my God, it's so good to see you, my friend. I missed you. I honestly did. Yeah, we were discussing like what sort of traditional Russian toys the Russians can produce for their kids, because they decided to actually censor the foreign toys for Russian kids. So no more.
I've been watching the stream.
Yeah, so like no more Action Man, no more like X-Men, no more Batman, Spider-Man, fuck it. Let's have like, I don't know, Yemelia who sleeps on the oven, or like Ivan Durak, Ivan the Imbecile, like people, so people could understand better. Yeah, what's your top three besides like toy toilets?
Well, of course, Matryoshka, because Matryoshka is the symbol of all Russian, I don't know how you call it, all Russian culture, international ambassador of Russia, Matryoshka toy. Maybe they will hide something inside of that Matryoshka.
Matryoshka with the toilet. That would be, that would be so perfect. Oh my God.
Yeah, but except for that, of course, some special offers to family members of the SMU members, like bring your dad in a uniform and get a toy for free, like that, etc., etc. Maybe. Well, I don't see any kind of toy that a Russian kid, young, will want a Russian origin, because they've been growing up with internet. Okay, so till the last couple of months, they got YouTube and internet, and they were watching Marvel movies, etc. So they will like Spider-Man and Superman. Maybe some Chinese knockoffs will come in, and of course, Captain Pridnestrovia, Captain Transnistria.
Oh, I already love this one. Okay, let's see what
Can you
else.
show it?
Captain,
Story.
Captain Pridnestrovia. Just a second. Let me see. It's so hard to type without Capitan.
PMR.
Wait. Capitan PMR. Oh my God. PMR. That's just so good. So just my dear friends, just so you could understand this shit, is Captain Transnistria. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's so bad, so it's good. I mean, it's just. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. Regular type of shit.
Oh my God. This is beautiful.
And actually, I am back to Ukraine from Yerevan, from Armenia, and
Oh.
I got several encounters with Russians there, and with Armenians that thought we were Russian. It was very interesting experience, to be honest. Like we were talking in Ukrainian language, and then a taxi driver turns to us, "You're Russians, right?" Like that. And we saw an Armenian, very many Armenians of Ukrainian origin. Let's say the Ukrainians of Armenian origin who are there in Yerevan. And we asked one guy, like, where are you from? He says, from Dnipro city, Ukraine. It's the best city in the world. And I used to live in Armenia right now, like a basic place where you stay. And he says, unfortunately, yes. Yeah, so a lot of people in Armenia, Ukrainians, Russians, Iranians as well. So they have border with Iran, and it is a very interesting culturally place. What I could say that Russian influence is decreasing there, strongly decreasing there. After recent events, you might have seen Pashinyan more cooperation with Erdogan and with Trump on the peace deal with Azerbaijan. So Russian influence is waning there. And we were to go to Georgia as well, but the Georgian board not let us in.
The Georgians didn't let you
It
in.
was a very strange circumstance. Yeah, they didn't let us in. It was the day when President Zelensky made his speech in the United Nations that we have lost Georgia, we have lost some other countries he mentioned. We have lost Belarus, we have lost Georgia and Belarus, we must not lose Moldova. And the very next day we were to go to Georgia and they just didn't let us in. No Ukrainians nor Germans were allowed. It is very unfortunate to see this because a couple of years ago, when you show Ukrainian passport at the border with Georgia, people were smiling at you. So they recognized you're now outside, you're with us. Now the situation is opposite, unfortunately opposite. We had several conversations with Georgian civil society leaders and journalists, and the situation there is really dire right now because of the new legislation, which they call the Russian law. You might have seen, you must have seen the mass protest that erupted in Georgia. Even they tried to overtake the presidential palace, but again, the demonstrations were dispersed. And right now, Georgia acts as a hostile country to European Union, to Ukraine, and let's say so to the whole Western idea. We couldn't imagine that a couple of years ago. And in Armenia, that you couldn't imagine a couple of years ago, that it would be pro-European country and with an intention to join European Union. Right now, Pashinyan is going to European Union Parliament and to European Council, Parliamentary Assembly, and you feel comfortable in Armenia, which was a pro-Russian country, just a couple of years ago, and international. Oh, the quality is bad. I would switch my internet. Sorry.
Yeah, could be. Could be that you will have to. Oh, yeah, you're back. Awesome. Ah, no, you're gone. Okay, let's wait for Paul because it's very, very interesting actually. All right, we have you back.
Yeah, sorry for the internet, it was bad. Yeah, and basically Armenia and Georgia now switch sides. So Armenia is a pro-Western state and Georgia turns to be on the official side, a pro-Russian state. But in a civil society, there's still a very strong movement towards European integration on the level of journalists and civil society leaders, NGOs, etc., the ones who are getting banned because of this new Russian law.
That's absolutely crazy. Oh my God. Who would imagine that in like 2015? I don't know, like 2010. Jesus. I've been there. I've been in Tbilisi. The last time I've been there was 2010. And people were looking at me like with evil eyes when I spoke Ukrainian because they thought that it was Russian language.
Russian.
And they were like, "Are you Russian?" I'm like, "No, I'm Ukrainian." They, And I drank like pig for 2 weeks, literally, and I didn't pay because they were like paying for me.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. Here's a picture from 2021 with my Georgian friends. We were in Lviv and then in Kiev, Ukraine. It was the same international project that we used to go to Yerevan this year. And that was the first time when I met with Georgian hospitality and the country of Georgia itself, the emotion, like the vibe of Georgia and the vibe of Caucasus. Armenians have very similar vibe, but to be honest, they are in a much, much tougher geopolitical situation. Basically, they are between Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Iran here. The only neighbor that is like okay with them is Georgia. And you know that Turks and Armenians, they have this kind of historical conflict.
Yeah.
They call Turks their enemies, and younger generation of Armenians calls Russians white Turks. So they associate Russians with Turks, with the enemy for their country. So there are Turks, white Turks, and Iran. And good neighbors Georgia, and that's everything they got. Like engaged with neighbors who want to occupy and assimilate their country, and still holding on.
How crazy is that? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's all. And I asked them how do they do it. It's geopolitical flexibility and diplomacy. So that's and a very strong diaspora. So Armenians have a very strong diaspora outside of the country, which returns to the country, returns with investment, mostly from France. As you know, Charles Aznavour was Armenian origin, French singer, and France has influxed a lot of diplomatic effort into Armenia for the last couple of years, while broadcasting this, brokering this ceasefire between Azerbaijan and Armenia.
Edward Cooley asks, are the people of Georgia good people with a bad government? Basically, yeah. Basically it's a very good explanation. Okay, my friend, let's switch real quick to our updates because there's quite a lot of things to discuss today, all right? Chief of some of the regions of the Krasnodarsk Krai was actually detained by Russian cops, and during detainment he had 12 kilograms of gold and 100 million rubles in cash, and 100 million rubles is basically $1 million in cash. And the property that he had is valued worth 2 billion rubles. So basically it's just so you could understand, the tiniest Russian authorities have like hundreds of millions of cash just with them at all times. At the same time, the Russian people, like the Russian slaves who live there in that terrorist federation, they are so grateful to all of those Russian thieves who literally snatch all of their money for things like hypothec, right? For this hypothec credit, so they can afford some kind of tiny apartment somewhere, in the middle of nowhere. That's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Tyumeny is the city that never sleeps.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so tonight, soon it will be like last night already. Tonight, besides that huge attack on that oil storage in Feodosia in Crimea, also 2 substations were hit. There in the area. We are talking about the power substations, of course. Why? Because Russians love hamster soup so much. I think they will freaking enjoy it. We have a bunch of footage from there, and frankly speaking, that fire looks absolutely infernal, my friends. This shit you don't see often on
oh my god.
Yeah. The flames must be like
glasses to watch it better.
the flames must be like 50 meters tall, if not like 100 meters tall. That is so insane. Yeah. So switching to other good news, of course, you, my dear friends, you probably already heard about the strike on Bashneft NPZ in Ufa. That is terror-Russian oil refinery, and actually one of the biggest from what they have. And I believe that Ukraine already strikes this one for like 3rd, 5th time or something like that. I remember the strikes were recorded, I think like spring this year or something like that. I might be wrong though.
Yeah, I remember that. It was not spring, but rather June. We had a report on UATV on that because, as you know, the first topic on UATV news pulse is always right now the first topic that something is on fire in Russia, because something is on fire in Russia massively each day right now. That's thankfully to the sanctions UAVs of the Ukrainian Defense Forces that impose sanctions every day on their oil and military infrastructure. So every day we have some news to talk about.
Yeah, some beautiful cotton in the area. My dear friends, for those who don't remember what cotton, like where this word originates from, it's basically when Russians refer to like those massive explosions and fires. Hello, Fragden Shizo, hello. All those massive explosions and fires on the Russian territory, but because they don't want to sow panic among their slaves, they, instead of speaking out like actual words, like explosion, right? Like explosion happened, explosion took place. They call it a clap. Like when you applaud, right? So Russian word chlopok, if you put a stress on a different word, it will be chlopak, and chlopak is basically cotton. So when they say that chlopok took place somewhere, you can read it as chlopak, basically bavovna. I think in 2022 or 2023 I already made a video on that explaining, and it was like years ago already. Oh my God. So who is responsible for those strikes? We know that the Center for Special Operations A of legendary Ukrainian security service, the SBU, basically launched their drones 1,400 kilometers away from Ukraine, and they reached their target successfully. So what else? Aha! And after the strike, the fire actually started in the area of a facility that processes the crude oil. And we have another. The source of from the SBU, as far as I understand, the source reported that it's already third strike in Bashkortostan over the past month, which is absolutely incredible.
And Andrei and dear guys, have you heard of the news that Putin has signed dotations to crude oil producing industry just today? They will influx like millions, tens of millions in rubles to support domestic gas and diesel production and do not export that oil. So they will influx lots of money into the now not profitable branch of oil extraction and processing, and they will lose money from not selling it abroad. Maybe this is the reason that in Tatarstan, I believe it was 3-fold times, or maybe even more, they have decreased the payments for signing a contract with the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation. So they have real strong economic problems. And if Ukraine drones continue to impose such sanctions on their oil industry, it might completely crack down.
That's very interesting, considering the fact that their budget actually sucks balls at this point. But what else do we have? So, besides the Russian submarine that emerged in the coastal waters of France, we also have these Russian green men, literally, collecting mushrooms not far from the Estonian border, actually. So there is a part of the highway that goes from the terrorist federation to Pskov and actually crosses the territory of Estonia. And when Estonian border guards found these green men that you can see on your screens, they decided to just freaking close the border just in case, because this is always better. And much safer like that, because with those green men, who knows? But again, guys, we can see another attempt to make Europeans nervous, Russians. I think they did it on purpose, of course, because we will see growing number of such cases when Russians will be rattling their sabers and threatening everybody with nuclear apocalypse and showing off their aircraft and submarines and green men in order to keep pressure on the European society. So, Paul, one thing that I wanted to talk about actually today, they adopted another interesting law in the Terrorist Federation. So basically, Kremlin adopted the law that allows to involve reservists to the military operations outside the Russian border. Basically, this law gives them opportunity to use the Russian mobilization reserve to send them abroad and participate in the so-called counter-terrorist operations, or also support the regular Russian troops outside of the terrorist federation. So basically, this could be a signal that Russia is preparing to attack Baltic states, because considering the number of personnel in the Baltics, I believe that Russia is considering those countries maybe easier or more tempting, to attack. And also, this law will actually allow the Terrorist Federation to officially send the so-called green man to other countries, posing this as protection of Russian-speaking, Russian-speaking population and things like that. And basically, it also means that the Terrorist Federation may start a different so-called SMO in a different country. Also what we know about the numbers, we know that the mobilization reserve in the Terrorist Federation is approximately 5 million orcs. It sounds, of course, very, very threatening, but again, one thing that we should always remember is that manpower is not everything, because you cannot send 5 million, like 2 millions marching here, 2 millions marching there, because they need vehicles. At this very moment, Russia doesn't have enough vehicles to upkeep the army of marching, hordes of Russian orcs. It's just impossible. And basically, if they come marching to any European country, that will be the happiest day for European artillerymen. Trust me on that. But generally, what
the guns?
Yeah. What do you think about this one?
Unfortunately, yeah, at first I was convinced that this law was about mobilization potential to send more reservists to the Ukrainian fronts and not to pay
volunteers, like they have decreased the payment for volunteers to go to the war, as I said earlier. But right now I just understood that they consider in their constitution occupied territories of Ukraine as their own. So it is not about us. It is about Europe, unfortunately. And I think it will not be an attack on the Baltics. Because the Baltics are very tempting. And because they're very tempting, they will be a trap for Russians. And the attack will be, I believe so, and I hope this will not happen. But my prediction that it will be Poland.
My prediction, it will be probably Latvia or Finland or Estonia. Latvia because of the corridor to the Leningrad. Poland, maybe.
The Suwałki Gap.
Yes, Suwałki Gap, of course. Maybe yes.
They could invoice this kind of counter-terrorist operation to protect residents of the Kaliningrad region, because there will be an artificial blockade of the region, and they will need a land corridor to deliver humanitarian help to them, and it will be a pretext for an attack on Poland to secure this strategic military corridor. It possibly could be.
Yeah, well, it looks pretty much logical. And also, a lot of experts actually consider that already this spring, Terrorist Federation may actually launch another mobilization in the Terrorist Federation. So we might actually expect some sort of second wave of open mobilization in Russia. A friend of mine, Sanctioned Ivan, the blogger from Russia who lives in Thailand right now, he's getting mobilized actually. Like he received a message to visit like their mobilization center. Of course, he said like, "Fuck you!" Like, there's no way I'm doing that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but it's already happening. We can already see that these messages start coming to people,
right?
Yeah. So we have an update from Kyiv actually, and this one, that's our Minister of Interior. He came after the Monastyrsky, I think. The Minister of Interior who was before him.
Klemenko?
Klemenko, yeah.
Klemenko is our current minister.
He's our current, yeah,
right?
yeah. He came
who was
after
Monastyrsky, let me see.
God, 3 years. 3 years passed. I already forgot his name. Oh my God.
Wow, the first one in the search bar is the Ministers of Internal Affairs of Uganda. Then it goes Ukraine. Wow, okay. And in the picture,
Denis Monastyrsky.
No, Denis Monastersky was deceased in a
Yeah,
aviation crash.
And then came Klemenko.
It's Klemenko on the photo.
Yeah,
Igor
yeah.
Klemenko. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's literally like my former chief, like not my direct chief, but he's like Minister of
But the
Interior.
chief. Yeah.
Yeah, the chief. Yeah, and actually a extremely cool guy. So he's together with Kaya Kallas, who came to Ukraine and talk about their support to Ukraine, and it's really cool to see them together. Like literally, he came to HOSTOMEL so many times. Oh my god, I remember those days. Very good to see our friends, our colleagues from European Union, and of course, it's very important for us to feel this support nowadays. What else? So this one is actually very interesting, and I saved this specifically 2 days ago to show you guys because this is an interview with actual terror-Russian invader, call sign Ruslan, whatever, my ass, who served in the 88th brigade called Española. Actually, this brigade already...
Okay.
Yeah. This brigade ceased to exist already in October this year, this month basically, most probably because they suffered so much losses, so they became like... they resigned basically. And he also fought in the Chasiv Yar. My dear friends, I would really like to translate to you what this Russian invader is saying, because this comes directly from a Russian invader who volunteered to fight, and the story that he's sharing is absolutely incredible. I hope that you will like it, all right? So let's hear what he says. And I will not forget to use the sound as well.
Вот, то есть я диверсант по специальности.
He says, so basically I am like a saboteur.
Subversive actant.
Yeah.
Вот нас 6 человек осталось. Было 70.
He says, out of 70 men that we had in our, I believe it was a reconnaissance company, out of 70 men, 6 survived.
Осталось 6. Вот нас 6 — это команда. Один из них — это оператор. Операторов было 9. Стал 1.
He says 6 men that we have right now is the team. One of those guys, among those 6 Russian terrorists, is an operator. And there were 9 operators, now there's 1.
Остался. Я не знаю, просто вот я как считаю, лично мое, да, сугубо личное мнение, это то, что набирают весь сброд, вот эта мобилизация, это такой бред. Почему, объясняю тоже, на это есть фактическая причина.
He's basically nagging about the mobilization, and specifically he's nagging that Russian draft officers are basically recruiting all kinds of scum, according to this terrorist.
Набирают тех, кто ни хуя не умеет. На их обучение тратятся миллионы.
They recruit people who cannot do anything, who have absolutely zero experience, and of course Russians are paying millions to train them. And basically where those millions are going, they're going to the dude like the one that was mentioned above, with kilograms of gold and $100 million cash.
Они приезжают, их сразу же нахуй двухсотят.
So as soon as those orcs that were trained by Russians, as soon as they arrive to the front lines, they immediately die.
Вон, дорога жизни, знаешь? Дорога жизни здесь есть.
He says, we have a so-called road of life.
Road of life.
Yeah, road of life.
От Бахмута до Часов Яра.
Between Bakhmut and Chasiv Yar.
Как трудно. Едешь по трупам, дороги нет.
He says there is no way you can drive down the road, avoiding driving over the dead bodies. He says, like, there's dead bodies, of course, Russian bodies everywhere.
Буханка вот так.
And the car goes
Просто,
like this.
Поймешь, по кому едешь. Тут дома вот в таком положении, то есть вот так вот плиты от пожаров.
He says, because of the fires, all the buildings that the terrorists are accommodated at, they are being damaged, and basically because the fire damaged the metal constructions, the concrete blocks are hanging over their heads.
Ну, железо потеряло свое свойство вот так уже гнуться. Вот у нас 3 бригады завалило.
He says 3 brigades, but I've no idea what sort of brigades he's referring to, probably the smaller ones. He says 3 brigades
he says maybe like a company. He means a company.
Yeah, maybe a company or a group, or brigade not in the military meaning, like brigade, which is probably like 70 men, 80 men. He says 3 brigades actually died because they were killed by that concrete that basically buried them.
Просто плитами. Кто вот в подвале, там их просто не могут вытащить. А кто на первом этаже жил, всех разъехал.
Yeah, so he says that those who were hiding in the basements, they are abandoned because they cannot be taken out or evacuated, but those who lived on the first floors, they literally got crushed.
Загугли потом, и интересно будет. Дорога жизни. Так трупами усыпана.
And basically he offers the person he speaks to, he offers to Google the road of life. Actually, it's a very interesting idea. I think we can do it as well. He says you will see a lot of pictures of literally dead bodies everywhere.
Просто поля усыпаны.
There are fields of Russian bodies.
Хули не вытаскивают? Могли вытащить. А их даже, понял, захочешь сейчас вытащить, они все разваливаются. Ты его, за ногу потянул, нога.
He says those bodies could be collected, all right? Those bodies could be collected, and there's I believe there's many of them. He says, but we cannot do it anymore because they are falling apart. And for example, if you drag someone, try to drag a body and grab a leg, the leg just, detaches from the rest of the body, and you cannot do anything.
Мы ходили раньше как? Документы доставали.
Previously, they were collecting the documents, the IDs from those bodies.
Трупы нет, документы да.
They would not take the bodies, but they would collect the documents.
И потом вот так комбату приносили, отдавали. Потом нам запретили этого делать, потому что Минобороны невыгодно.
So they were bringing those IDs to their battalion commander and literally just giving out all the documents of the good Russian soldiers that they found. And after that, they stopped doing that. They received order to stop doing that because it's not beneficial for the Ministry of Defense, so-called Ministry of Defense of the Russian Ministry of War and Stolen Toilet. It's not actually lucrative for the Russian ministry for obvious reasons.
То есть, грубо
Because of the drone sanctions in the first case.
Because basically, imagine how much compensations and it's always better to write this soldier as missing in action than dead. And basically, if he's missing in action, he can be missing for 20 years and the family remains without the compensation because this is Russia and this is what they deserve.
говорят, мы пройдем, вот я лично собирал там за день, когда время было, 70-80 военных билетов. Прикинь, за сутки. То есть это вот просто представь, это сколько миллионов нахуй.
He says, over a day I would collect 70-80 Russian documents from those bodies that he found. And he says, imagine how many millions and billions of rubles that is.
А нас таких ходило человек 15.
And he says, I was not alone. There were approximately 15 other guys who were also collecting those documents.
То есть мы вот так вот в поле идем по 15 человек и собираем.
And he says, we were just walking, across the field, 15 men, and we were collecting the documents from the bodies.
Вот мы приходим, на там 700-800 военных билетов. Куда ты? Прикинь, сколько это бабок.
And he says, we were just giving out like 700, 800 those military documents of the Russian soldiers who literally died for nothing, for some fucking shit. And he says, imagine how much money is that?
700-800 военных билетов. Да это... Конечно, они ведутся за какими-то бабками. Вот эти 3 миллиона там. Ну, получишь ты, ну и что? А дальше-то что?
He says, yeah, of course, 3 million rubles, which is basically like $30,000 for signing contract. He says, yeah, of course it looks attractive and people are alert, to sign the contract for those money. But he says, basically, what's next?
Их отправляют 2 недели на полигон с автоматом, просто держать его, стрелять научить. И все. Это все, что они делают.
He says they are sent to the training camp 2 weeks where they learn how to hold their AK, and basically that's it. So that's like a small but very interesting insight from Russian terrorists from Hispaniola. Very, very interesting to actually listen to such stories. And also we have a message from Christopher Miller from, I think it's Financial Times, right? I believe. Yes, Financial Times, who says that President Trump and President Zelensky most probably will meet on 17th of October, which is this Friday, as far as I understand. That's very interesting. Looking forward. So, did you hear any recent news coming from Hungary, by the way?
Actually, no, but I've heard the news that Americans have just unveiled the Oshkosh Tomahawk ground launcher.
We will talk about this one.
Yeah, but about Hungary, you can tell me the news, and then I'll pop it up because.
So basically, there's like this horrible information campaign against Ukrainians right now in Hungary. Of course, it's launched by Orban, by his party and stuff like that. And in this campaign, he literally demonizes Ukrainians. He demonizes President Zelensky and everyone else related to Ukraine. And this demonization is absolutely freaking wild. So I have friends who live there. They literally report to me whatever they see on the streets, all those banners. But what Orban actually did recently? So recently Orban published a video that was AI generated involving the president Volodymyr Zelensky, who was, like Steve Jobs. He was advertising a fake spy application, for Hungarians. How freaking cool is that? Literally, it's like as if President Zelensky has absolutely no other thing to do. But guys, how crazy is the fact that AI-generated video with obvious fake content is coming from Orban, a freaking prime minister of a country? How freaking crazy is that?
An official of a NATO and EU country, but I tend to doubt his loyalty and allegiance to NATO and EU in the first place. For some reason, because we have this spy scandal in Brussels that for many years Hungarian operators were trying to bribe European politicians into something. We do not know into what right now, but this AI generated video is complete cringe, but it is logical, because who is the electorate of Orban? Let's try to deduce it.
Okay.
What kind of age group are they? The kind of who likes plombier at 3 kopeka rate, and they have deep nostalgia. So it is the older generation of Hungarians who still remembers the socialist times, and they are unfortunately the easiest category of people, the age group, to become victims of these AI fake videos, because they look kind of realistic, and unfortunately the sight of older people gets worse, and they are not so much aware of how modern technologies have stepped in, so they could fall for it much easier than obviously the younger generation, because as we know, most of the younger generation, middle-aged people, are not pro-Orban, they are pro-opposition and pro-European ones, because Hungary is like, it's as old as Ukraine and Poland, maybe, as states, after Hungarians migrated to the Balkan, this region, yeah, Pannonia. So we have this older age group that is pro-Orban, and it falls to these AI videos easier. Maybe this is an internal campaign. So I do not believe that Orban will hope anyone falls for this in Ukraine or in Europe or even President Trump. Yeah, of course not. It was only for the internal audience to raise loyalty of his supporters before the parliamentary election. And I believe that elections are in 2026. Let me see. Elections Hungary. Yes, 2026 parliamentary elections. And in 2026, just soon, just in a couple of months, Orban could lose everything he's got. He could lose Hungary at all.
And of course, the older generation does not fact check. I mean, younger generation does not fact check, but older generation definitely. A lot of people don't fact check. Like,
yeah, you
it's
see, like younger generation, they have better sight and they can see those artifacts of the AI creation of the video. But older people, unfortunately, they can miss that.
Yeah. What's your general prediction on the upcoming elections, the governmental elections in Hungary?
Of course, I think that the TISA party will win it. Because, as you can see, when pro-European powers win in former pro-Russian countries, the opposite happens in other countries. We have had this pro-European government in Slovakia that has been changed for Robert Fico, obviously not very pro-European leader. And we have the results of these elections in Czechia, where an anti-European party has won the leadership. And because of that, I believe that Hungary right now is on its way to elect a pro-European government, like in Moldova. So all these things, they move in waves. In sociology, it's all like that. So a wave of that, a wave of this mood, and the opposite one, it all depends on this political cycle from 4 to 8 years, I believe.
I believe so, but another thing that raises a lot of concern actually is the popularity of far-right movements right now around the Europe, which is growing dramatically.
Yeah, and we have to thank Angela Merkel for that.
Yeah, jawohl.
Yeah, the woman that laid the foundation for far-right populist groups to raise their election rate in 10 years after her first political missteps in European policy, right? Like that. It was exactly 10 years ago when it all started.
Ja, genau. What else do we have? We, by the way, have some very encouraging news coming from Slovenia, but we will talk about it a bit later. So Mark Rutte accused Russia in spying after the NATO allies, NATO members. He says that, for example, United Kingdom recently exposed the Russian military intelligence that was using the spy software. Mark Rutte told about that during the Parliamentary Assembly of NATO in Ljubljana, and he said that this, like, the reason it happened was because of the Hague Plan of Investitions. It was decided to invest more into the defense measures and defense of the critical infrastructure, protection of the networks, and increasing the resilience and increasing the civilian awareness and readiness. This picture, by the way, this is today's picture from Feodosia, that horrifying fire that
Yeah.
that was raging there. Oh my God, it looks absolutely amazing. I believe that they are so happy. And we also have some very interesting, this comes from the next. We have very interesting data about at least 314 Belarusians, which is a known information, which is confirmed, who died fighting for Putin. And this information was published by the project I Want to Live. And according to this project, they know about 1,338 Belarusians that participated in the war fighting against Ukraine, which means that basically every fourth of them already became a better person. So a lot of them were actually recruited in the Russian prisons, which, by the way, is something I know. My guys told me about such cases. But among them, there are also former Belarusian Spetsnaz guys that my guys also told me about. The other time, I believe in Bakhmut, they captured a prisoner, actually a Belarusian prisoner. And like the dude was such a Belarusian, so they were carrying him literally from from the place where they captured him to their positions, and then all of a sudden there's explosion, the guys fall down, the dude throws away his rifle accidentally, and this Belarusian, the prisoner, he grabs the rifle and is like, dude, here, take it. Oh my God, it was so good.
Okay. Yeah. What about Belarusians? I think we should not underestimate them at all, because, as you know, the Kalinovsky battalion is a very strong part of the Ukrainian army. It's a volunteer battalion made of Belarusian volunteers, yes, immigrants. As you know, there are Belarusians in Poland and in Lithuania, mostly journalists and political immigrants. And in Ukraine, we have these patriotic men and women who joined the Kalinovsky battalion. What about Belarusians joining the Russian army? I believe those people are not professionals, except for the Spetsnaz that you was talking about. But I see that they could join up for money. And if a person signs for money from another country, not from Russia, it means that there's literally no possibility in their home country to make it. Just look at those Asian and Cuban mercenaries that are taken prisoner by the Ukrainian forces. By the way, 2 women that drafted Cubans into the army of the terrorist federation, they were mobilized themselves and sent to Storm V battalions for that, because the Cuban mercenaries have applied hundreds of complaints to police, Russian, that she was frauding them, and that those two women were deceiving them on the terms of contracts. They were signing contracts for labor, but then they were re-transferred to the military. And even the Russian police have applied to those claims and mobilized the women from the temporary prisons, like, isolators,
Yeah, yeah.
pre-trial detention center, like that ones. Yes. And Belarusians, I believe the same. If it is not a dedicated military campaign from Minsk, but rather volunteers signing up, it is rather a sign of despair of many people in the Republic of Belarus right now, not a sign of their eagerness to fight in World War III.
I guess so. But speaking of regiment of Kostuy-Skalinovsky, the Belarusian patriots fighting in Ukraine against the Russian terrorists, I frankly consider them the only real Belarusians. Like the only real people, that I can call Belarusians.
Because it's like Belorussia, they even, like Belarusians, they say don't call it Belarusians, we are Belarusians, because we are part of this ancient Rus. We are not part of Russia, Russia. Yeah, they have a very strong identity connected to the Polish Lithuanian Commonwealth and the Great Duchy of Lithuania. In fact, Ukraine, Lithuania, and Belarus as nations were part of a very strong state in the Middle Ages. The first one who could deter the Golden Horde, so the Mongolian Empire, on the river of Blue Waters, so the river Sinyuha, now in Ukraine, in Cherkasy region. So in the middle of Ukraine, they had the first victory over the Golden Horde ever recorded in history, a military one. And actually, Kozak Mamai was there, but he wasn't Kozak. He was a Crimean Tatar Khan with this iconic hairstyle. So it's like a historical influx here that this Ukrainian identity of a Cossack is related to Turks, to Tatars as well, and Crimea.
Yeah.
And just what we are talking about, Belarusians. Yeah. So Belarusians in Ukraine, they have this strong base, military preparation one, Kostuy-Skalinovsky, and I believe veterans from the times of ATO in the east of Ukraine. And these are professional military servicemen that could later become part of something bigger. I'm not saying directly what, but you might understand me, something bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. And those guys are probably the only Belarusians that I can respect and, be proud to have such opportunity to fight shoulder to shoulder with. We have another update about Kaja Kallas. Actually, she announced today a funding for tribunal for Putin. Basically, Kyiv will receive first millions for investigating the Russian war crimes, and Kaja Kallas announced 10 million euro for creation of the International Tribunal for investigation the war crimes of Russia against Ukraine. Also, 6 more million euro will be transferred to help Ukrainian kids that were deported forcefully by the Russian terrorists and also victims of sexual abuse. Because unfortunately we have numerous thousands of cases of such abuse taking place, it's not it's not a surprise to anyone. We were talking about like the traditional toys for the Russian kids, all right? I would even really like to joke, about what is real for the Russian culture, but it will not be funny because it involves a lot of atrocities, a lot of war crimes, a lot of rape, and a lot of unspeakable, horrifying things. That is why, for example, when you see Russian comedians that, wear like shapka-ushanka, dancing with bayan or with beer, and show how ridiculous Russians are and ha ha ha, but they're not funny because they're not real. And if you want to see them real, it will not be funny. We have some very interesting another insight from Russian terrorists, and again, I actually enjoy reading those. Here's a message from a dude from military unit 78986. He was writing on the Russian Telegram channel. He says, I'm writing from a hospital. I could make it. I could break free and I will be retired because I don't have a leg anymore. So he says that Stout, commander of his battalion, and also call sign BS, chief of staff, they are afraid of their own personnel, so they have guards that literally protect them from their own personnel, which openly on the radio they call with different derogatory, different slurs. And he says that they also cover the real losses of the personnel and the real situation on the front line. He says, the author of this text says that he received an injury when Ukrainians attacked his positions. By the way, it happened not far from Sumy. So it happened during one of the counterattacks of Ukrainian defenders. He said after a short shootout, they started literally becoming better on the Ukrainian soil and turning into fertilizer massively. Those who were lucky, they ran away. Those who couldn't run away, they remained them forever. And I believe that soon they will turn into some very, very kick-ass cucumbers. So he says that they didn't have much positions, which actually, doesn't look much like Russians, because Russians are known for digging like everywhere because they want to live so much. But I can understand if they couldn't literally bring the vehicles to dig those positions because of Ukrainian drones. That is another reason why we don't see them so much in that area. So he says that the wounded Russian soldiers that he refers as 300s, the wounded soldiers, including the drivers, the military drivers, are being brought back to the positions, including those from the rear positions, all right? And he says they have huge problems with the supplies. He says humanitarian aid that Russian people collect money for and buy them shit. He says that the humanitarian aid is being stolen, the water and food is not being delivered to the positions. So in best case, they have several tin cans of porridge and meat and liter of water for 2 or 3 men for several days. He says they don't have much cover fire from the air. They don't have much close air support. They kind of have artillery, but he says, but they are shelling us for some reason. And he says there were cases when Russian soldiers were dying from hunger and thirst. Every second was drinking his own urine in order to somehow survive. I love this. I mean, the people who admire Russian army should actually make more content about the reality on the ground. We have also some footage coming from 40th Brigade of Coastal Defense of Ukraine, where you can see Ukrainian drones are turning Russian terrorists into better forms of life. which is not really life. I don't know. They become better in a way. They are improved, покращено. So we can see those Russian invaders on Ukrainian in Ukrainian waters getting baptized.
So they became Marines, right?
Yeah.
Navy SEALs.
They became like mini submarines.
But there's a nuance. Yeah, they became submarines, but there's a nuance. Yeah.
Yeah. And who is this? Danil Kokus, 18 years old. Guys, this 18-year-old Russian teenager, basically. Danil Kokus, there is his obituary in the social media, and it says that выпускник, воспитанник, whatever, Центр помощи детям. So, they have a center for helping kids. I believe that it's something like orphanage.
Orphanage, yeah.
Of KGBU. What is KGBU? I don't even want to guess. So they say in this obituary that in 2024 this individual was graduated, and after graduation from this center, he became a volunteer and he volunteered to fight against Ukrainian people. In April 2025, he got missing in action, and recently they received a tragic message about his death. 17th of June, he would be celebrating his 19th birthday. And a lot of people watching this video right now, they might say, oh my god, such a young person, such a tragedy, basically a teenager lost his life because he was brainwashed and tricked by Putin's regime and things like that. I will tell you this. There is an ordinary Russian person, all right, that otherwise would be drinking beer with you or telling you some silly Russian jokes or something like that, or like digging his outhouse, all right, in the springtime. And all of a sudden, he's wearing uniform and takes decision to go to the other country and kill people there, all right? And whatever is happening to him, for money, because $30,000. And he thinks that by killing Ukrainians, he can actually solve his problems. Remember that video episode where a Russian prisoner was arrested who was really like nagging that I decided to sign contract because I have so many debts that I took so many loans and stuff, and I had to pay, and then my kid was born and I had to pay, so I decided to go to war, and basically I recruited, I signed the contract, and this is how I got captured. Why the freaking fuck do you think that Ukrainians are to blame for your fucking problem? Your kid, the dude's kid was sick, basically, and that was the reason why he signed the contract, besides all his debts and loans and everything. Why the fuck do you think that Ukrainians are to blame for your kid? Why the fuck do you think that killing Ukrainians justifies your kid becoming like healthier? What kind of fucked up mentality is that? And basically you can see 18-year-old Russian who could have lived a normal life. He could become an IT specialist or something like that. IT specialist.
Even a taxi driver.
Yeah, but if you like to drive, to twist the wheel, you can become a taxi driver. Doesn't
at 18 years old without higher education, you can easily become a taxi driver after graduation from this kind of institution. And there was like a million ways to evade mobilization, but he was a volunteer. It's clearly stated in the message. So it's part of their mentality. They just don't give a fuck. That's
They
all.
just don't give a fuck.
Don't give a fuck.
Listen,
And-
you can apply to like online courses. You make websites. You just launch ChatGPT. You can make websites like a pro nowadays. I know because I tried. I literally created myself a website a couple of days ago, and it was like boom, you know. You can learn IT, you can learn coding or programming, and you can have at least $7,000 a month. But you decide to go and kill people, and it's not because you know he was like a crazy person, right? That's just Russian way of thinking. That's just their nature.
Yeah, I had this interesting conversation with the younger Germans. I always have this kind of conversation with younger Germans. They keep telling me of some kind of humanism, like Russian people are human beings after all. Even those drafted into the army, they do not want to go to war and kill so many people. Oh, I don't know what I should do if I get into war. I don't know if I could press the trigger. And I say, man, what the fuck? You wouldn't think of that. In a case when Russians attack you, you would not think of that if you're in a trench, like, or in a position. Because what is happening right now is a horde of non-thinking, half mercenaries called the Russian army are plundering and destroying Ukraine centimeter after centimeter. Communities are being evacuated each day. Entire historical regions are being erased and they do not give a fuck. There's not a single house in Bakhmut and not a single civilian left in the city. It was the center of Soviet wine making and sparkling wine from Artyomovsk then, now Bakhmut, was legendary in Soviet times and after the collapse of the Soviet Empire in Ukraine. It was legendary. If they really wanted to change something, like change the world order or build a better future, I don't know what the fuck else they could do and say for propaganda. But you can see this. They just keep burning cities to the ground, and it's not human at all. There's no humanity in this activity and their ideology. It is an inhuman ideology, I would say so. So my German friends, yeah, they keep talking of humanism. There's no humanism right now, not in Russia.
I completely agree with you. And generally speaking, they underestimate themselves so much, specifically Germans, because I know how tough the Germans are. You know, like because I face this every day. You know, they might be grumpy on the outside. They are extremely friendly and cheerful and open on the inside, and they like to be so humble, like, oh, I don't know how I would press the trigger. Like it's I don't know, -2 outside. He walks out like wearing a t-shirt and shorts, like I don't know, he's in the bathroom or something. They are tough people, and generally speaking, if you compare, for example, Russians, let's not even talk about Russians. As a former sergeant, it takes literally a couple of weeks to properly train. Of course, if you have normal training instructors, it takes 2 weeks to actually teach a soldier how to properly shoot and like some basic tactics, and doesn't require a lot of skills. Actually, it requires just constant repetition. That's all. And then basically, when you're in the fights, you have proper training, you have instincts that you required, and it's not that hard. I would say they lack motivation. And of course, Germans are extremely humble because of all the history, and which I can completely understand. For example, the reason why they could not shoot down those drones over the airports for example, in München. They could not shoot them down because the German military is not allowed to take such decisions. Because after the World War II, it was decided that military should not have so much right, in order to not to overtake the civilian government.
The power again.
Yeah, the power. And in Ukraine, we had the same situation. For example, HOSTOMEL. Before the full-scale invasion, my brigade was protecting the HOSTOMEL airport because it's like outside the fence. And we were not allowed to dig trenches on the territory of the HOSTOMEL airport. So basically, when Russians invaded, we had 0 positions. We didn't have anything equipped there. And the reason for that was because the chief of the Antonov, the one who is now like, I think he's prosecuted already, he's a fucking spy. Yeah, he's a fucking spy. Yeah. And he would not allow us to make positions there at the territory of the Antonov, of the HOSTOMEL airfield. And after that, of course, Ukrainian army doesn't care much. Okay, so if we need to have position here, guys, please go away. Here. Yeah, go away. Yeah. Like we will take the business in our hands, and this is what army should do in case there's a wartime or such threat as we're facing now. But generally, we were in the same position. Like we were not allowed by civilians to dig trenches at the HOSTOMEL airfield. How crazy is that?
Well, I'm not afraid of the current situation that the German army abides to law. I'm afraid of the future when the German army will not obey the law.
Yeah,
and the Russians will make them. Well, they will make them reincarnate their Prussian militarism. I'm afraid of that, really. But I'm afraid that will happen.
I think that eventually when you see Shaheds flying over your city, that actually changes a lot in your mind. Doesn't matter instantly. It doesn't matter if you're French or German or Czech.
Actually, I was in Poland when some of the Shaheds could enter its airspace, and I felt much more safe in Ukraine than I was feeling in Poland during those a couple of Shaheds flying in, because in that region, border when I was crossing the border, there were a risk of Shaheds going in, and it was for real. I was not feeling safe there. On the Ukrainian territory, I was feeling safe at once.
Considering that they raised like 100 airplanes to intercept 12 drones or 20 drones, that's absolutely fantastic. But they will learn. They will learn because we will help them to learn how to do it properly. We have some more insights, all right, from the Russian terrorists. Let's hear, for example, what this one is saying. I am Ignatov Ruslan, blah blah, whatever his name is.
Родился 23 июня 83 года.
He was born in 1983. That is like literally 2 years older than me.
У меня история такая. Нас привезли с Песчаной.
They were brought from Песчаное
Отправили на задание.
And sent them to the combat mission, and they had the drone protection, kinda.
Довели, короче, до места, где меня просто расхерачили.
They brought them to the position that they had to take, where they got fucked.
Чужие птички, лукоглядские, вражеские птички нас просто меня раздолбало.
They were fucked by good Ukrainian drones, basically.
Yeah,
посекло ноги, руки, и осколок горла прилетел.
So he has plenty of presents from the Ukrainian good drones, such
And a
as
fragment in his throat as well, and that's why he's speaking like that.
well, welcome to Ukraine, сука.
Я вышел на командира, сказал, что меня ранило.
So he contacted the commander and said that he was wounded.
Они говорят, найди укрытие в Ташкерте.
The commanders told him to find cover and sit there.
Перебинтуйся, подлечись.
Sit there, apply bandages and heal yourself.
Я перебинтовался, все сделал. На следующий день это было
So he applied bandages, healed himself like in a computer game or something.
меня затрехсотило 27 августа. 28 августа я вышел на связь.
So the next day he contacted them
Попросил отката.
and asked to be allowed to withdraw.
Но командиры мне запретили.
But the commanders told him, the wounded Russian invader, to just stay there and they would not allow him to withdraw.
Они
Ого, яка
сказали,
сумна новина.
ладно, давай попозже. Я ждал, когда они выйдут на меня.
So they were promising that they will contact him later, and this poor fuck was waiting until they would contact him again.
Я, короче, целый день прождал, так и не услышал.
So he was
The letter
waiting.
from the letter from Hogwarts didn't come.
Oh my god. So he was waiting for the whole day, and they didn't contact him because who gives a fuck about him? Seriously.
На следующий день, уже 29 числа, я опять снова вышел на своих командиров.
So the next day, he contacted them again.
Мне сказали, ты бегать можешь?
They asked him if he can run.
Я говорю, нет, я ковыляю.
He says, no, I barely walk.
Ноги посекло, ходить больно. Ну, говорит, перебинтуйся, подлечись.
So they say, yeah, apply bandages and cure yourself. Heal yourself.
Once again.
Oh my god, this is beautiful.
Я говорю, потом выйдешь на связь. Я говорю, у меня ни еды, ни воды нету.
And then they say, you will contact us again. And he says, I don't have any food and water.
И радейка садится.
And the radio station is dying.
Они говорят, дойди вот до точки. Там нашего, говорит, пацана задухсотил. Размародер РДшку, говорит.
So they say, go to that point. There's one of our guys dead. So you can basically loot whatever he has.
Там и вода, и еда, и пауэрбанк.
So the commanders say, go loot that guy that is lying down there. He has water, food, and the power bank for the radio station. Such caring commanders, my ass. I mean,
Зарядишься, выйдешь на связь, как подлечишься.
so they say after you become healthier, after you heal yourself, and after you charge your radio station, you will contact us again.
И все. Ну, оттуда идти, короче, 800 метров.
Yeah, but the problem is it takes approximately 800 meters to walk, and this poor fucker barely walks, as he said, because his legs are wounded due to the good Ukrainian drones.
Не высунешь, птички вражеские кругом. Я за сутки, самостоятельно начал уже откатываться назад.
So he says you cannot walk much because there's Ukrainian drones flying in the area, and I attempted to withdraw myself.
Я за сутки проходил 50-100 метров.
And he would walk 50-100 meters per day.
Я 2 недели с этой деревни выбирался в полку.
He said, I spent 2 weeks to withdraw from that village.
Когда в полку вышел, тут товарища встретил с моего взвода.
And then he met some friends from his platoon.
Он говорит, всем запретили откатываться. Никому откат не дают.
And this friend told him that everyone is banned from withdrawing. And no one, not a single terror-Russian invader on that position is allowed to withdraw.
Говорит, там пацан стоит, Сафон позывной у него. Он, говорит, смотрит, встречает людей, кто откатывается. Смотрит на их раны и отправляет снова вперед.
He says there is a guy called Sign Safon who watches people who return from the front line with wounds, and he watches their wounds and he checks them and he sends them back to the front line.
Если кто отказывается, говорит, он обнуляет их.
And if somebody disobeys, if somebody doesn't want to return, because obviously there are people with different wounds, he basically shoots them.
One moment, please. It's an interesting one. The mentality. Why no one shoots the Safon? Because these people who return with wounds, they have weapons. And if some, excuse me, how you even call this person? Public executioner sends you back with such wounds, wouldn't that be logical just to eliminate him as a threat to you using firearms issued to you? Let's call it like that. Isn't that logical?
Yeah. But they just don't do that.
Because of the mentality.
Yeah. And by the way, one thing about the red salt of the earth, salt of the red earth, one of our longtime family members there in the chat. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, my friend.
Oh, happy birthday as well. Yeah, I'm always happy to greet people on their holidays. Yes, and I really like issuing presents to people in the office. There's always presents from me in souvenirs. Like beer openers from Armenia, it's very important part of the office culture.
It's very, very important to have one, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's return to this poor fucker, shall we? Because it's very interesting. I mean, the dude stands there like single-handedly executing people who don't want to return back, but nobody is even thinking about doing the same to him.
Yeah.
Я не стал идти откатываться дальше. Я здесь остался. А у пацана я радейку свою потерял. У пацана радейка была.
So he decided that he will not
even try it.
Yeah, he will not even try it. So he decided to go back to the front line because apparently being shot by one big scary Safon, one dude that is standing there, is much more horrible, fate than just going back to the front line and becoming better.
Вот мы по радейке слышали, как один пацан тоже с нашего взвода откатывался, тоже ноги сильно посекло.
So he explains that on the radio station that he took from that dead Russian soldier, he heard another guy with another radio station who attempted to withdraw because he also had his legs wounded.
Сафон его встретил и говорит, давай, перебинтовывайся и вперед.
So Safon met that poor bastard and he said, come on, apply bandage and return back to the front lines.
Он и отказался, походу. Он выходит в Сафон на командира роты, говорит, он отказывается идти вперед.
So the dude decided not to do that, all right? The dude decided to leave. And Safon called the company commander and told the company commander that this poor Russian soldier doesn't want to return back to the front line because he's wounded.
Тот говорит, пускай нахуй этот гандон вперед идет.
And the company commander says, how to say it without cursing like Russians?
It was only cursing, but the meaning was just send him back.
Yeah, just send him back, let him go back.
Или Сафон, ты знаешь, что делать с ним.
Otherwise, Safon, you know what to do with him.
То есть обнулить. Понимаете?
So this is like a very, very sad story. Basically, this is what happens to Russians who want to sign a contract with the terrorist army. And this here we have a dirty bomb, my dear friends. This is basically what the dirty bomb looks like, only this one was produced not in Ukraine, this one was produced in Russia. And basically what he says is that basically he says, we are walking slowly and quietly without a rifle. Why?
Even without a rifle?
Without a rifle, yeah. Мы идем без автомата. Why? That's suspicious. But we don't care
They
at
don't give a
all.
fuck.
He says there are bodies over there.
Страшное дело. Ну все, деткам привет.
And he says there are bodies everywhere. It looks so horrible. Well, okay, say pass my greetings to the kids.
I believe he is like bidding farewell in this video.
Yeah, I guess. But why was he without a rifle? What the hell happened? That's something interesting.
That will remain a mystery.
Yeah. So here we have another episode. So you remember, like in Orwell's stories, there was this like 2 minutes of hatred. So here we have something similar in some Russian Ust-Pizdyuysk, where like where is that? I don't even know the location, but I gotta find this one.
I'm sorry, is that the real name of the town?
Ust-Pizdyuysk, that's basically whole Russia can be described like that. Like
okay.
Everything 50 kilometers further from Moscow is basically Ust-Pizdyuysk.
What the hell is that?
So this over there, you can see like Trump's head, all right? That's basically some kind of fucking village or something. Maybe some kind of meeting of Russian like villagers, local self-government or whatever. And basically they are sitting there, those Russians, and they are discussing Trump and geopolitics, all right? So this one is as cringy as fuck. I believe that in tonight's episode, this might be like the top Russian cringe of the evening. So I will translate it for you, all right?
Трамп планирует выйти из договора о ракетах средней и малой дальности. Как вам это заявление?
Oh my god. Oh my god, Paul, can you translate it please? Because like my side hurts like hell from laughing.
The narrator or the host says that Trump is obviously having this intention to leave the treaty on long-range and middle-range ballistic missiles. And what do you think about this? And they just keep all shouting that he's a fascist. He's
fascist. Oh, motherfucker.
This cringe reminds me of like 1920s a meeting of Sovcom in Zaupinsk or somewhere else,
Yeah.
with people discussing the horrible situation with black Americans in Chicago while sitting in chalupas.
Oh yeah,
themselves.
eating birds. Yeah, and
Some kind of залупин region.
do you know that American schools are falling apart and nobody wants to study, and they go, oh, fascists. Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Сразу не возмущайтесь. Сейчас я вам дальше продолжу. На встрече со своими сторонниками в Неваде это все состоялось. Он обвинил Россию в том, что она многие годы, он говорит, нарушала это соглашение.
So he says, where in Nevada, yes.
Yeah. Do they even know what is Nevada? Like,
Who fucking care in Усть-Пиздюйск? So she says, like, during the meeting in Nevada, he accused Russia, that actually Russia was violating this treaty for many years, and now the reaction of the populace there, like.
Мало того, он подверг критике Барака Обаму. Еще Барака Обаму обвинил, что он должен был еще...
Oh my God!
believe.
They start mentioning like Barack Obama and stuff like that. Actually, like they seem kind of like acquainted, you know, even with some. Well, basically, why do they know Barack Obama? Because Barack Obama is famous in Russia for shitting on the Russian children's playgrounds, you know, throwing plenty of syringes in the Russian apartment buildings and things like that, puking on the staircases. For example, that gentleman that you can see, like sitting over here, you know, when he wakes up in the morning and he like discovers like a pile of poop in his pants, basically that's because Barack Obama pooped there when he was sleeping, you know, and as I was saying, I think just a couple of days ago, sorry, Mr. Donald Trump, but this is your turn now. It doesn't matter what you're doing. For Russians, you will be the one who is now throwing syringes, planting, you know, the dog poop, you know, like just sowing the dog poop in their yards, and doing all other crazy and scary things. Let's continue. Let's continue because this one is absolutely amazing.
Раньше договор этот разорвали.
Yeah, so they say we should have canceled this treaty earlier. If we knew that Americans are such motherfuckers, we would cancel this treaty earlier. And my God, this is so amazing. Oh.
This country has nukes.
Барак Обама еще.
Это вот не додерживала, а теперь... А теперь Россия виновата.
Yeah, they say Barack Obama violated this treaty and now they accuse Russia. And my dear friends, like you imagine Russians again as, you know, those friendly people sitting there and just being brainwashed, right? Oh my God, my friends, you don't know so much about them.
Договор вот этот,
Like I guarantee, all right? I guarantee that all those babkas that you see on your screen right now, all right? Let's take a look at those gentle Russian people. I guarantee that like 20, a bit more than 20 years ago, they were standing in the fucking queues to buy American chicken, cheap American chicken, the so-called bush legs, because they had to feed their fucking kids, and there were literally no protein in the big and wealthy terrorist federation because their economy was fucked so bad. And they were standing there in the queue blessing Americans, you know, blessing them, and then taking those...
Спасибо, господин американец.
Yes, спасибо тебе, Господи. And then they were like literally snatching those, you know, munching on those bush legs. And years after that, they decided that, those fucking Yankees, like, thank you so much for bringing us those chicken legs. Now we can fight.
РСМД один из ключевых вообще договоров по холодной войне. Это он же был подписан еще в 1987 году Горбачевым и Рейганом еще.
Oh, they look like my God, they look like the crowd, you know, like a crowd of like geese or like I don't know chicken, like probably geese or turkeys. You go like and they all go like yeah. It's like it's so funny. Like and that treaty was actually signed in 1987 by Ronald Reagan and Gorbachev, and they all go, oh traitor, traitor. Wild politician. Wild political room. That is the best place for Tucker Carlson right there. I tell you that. Like Tucker Carlson.
It's a Roman Senate on the minimal quality. Like in minimal settings in Battlefield 6.
Yeah, budget version.
Yeah.
It's so cool. So it's literally so. This one is, by the way, this one is a mystery. And Paul, tell me if you agree, because a lot of Ukrainians actually are trying to decipher this one. So, on the left, we have Peskov, right? The Russian mustachio man, the Putin speaker. In the middle, we have Peskov's son, who lived in London for quite a long time actually, and then he was deported from the UK because of some shit that is related to drugs. And on the right we have Kiasayan, the former husband, Tigran Kisafaker, the former husband of Margarita Simonyan, who became a better person just recently. So this is something that Ukrainians are currently trying to, like, we are debating this stuff very much, by the way, these days. So how is it possible that Peskov's son is actually a copy of Tigran Kiasayan? Like, I will...
maybe they have, like, this family friendship.
Maybe they just... Like, I don't know, but it's the same face, basically.
Yeah, and also, you know, Simonyan and this Kiasayan, they are main propagandists of the Russian regime, and Kiasayan has just died recently, and they were the authors of this anti-Ukrainian genocidal rhetoric in the first place. Simonyan started her career by lying on live broadcasts on federal channels, so she was so-called mother of contemporary modern Russian federal channels, so modern propaganda, and they are directly involved for the genocide of the Ukrainian people that has been committed by Russian forces, by Russian people, because they have instilled all these ideas in their minds. And these people are of, as you can guess by their surnames, last names, are of Armenian origin. But by no means I can call them Armenians. They are fucking Russians, I would say so. So no Armenians in Armenia recognize them as part of their culture and their country. It's outrageous how they could become these Russian propaganda chieftains.
Yeah, as far as I remember, Kiasayan was the one who was saying, we will have our march, our parade in Kyiv and stuff like that. But
and Simonyan has cancer as well.
Yeah. Simonyan was basically the one who announced that Russia will win the war in 2 days. We talk about 3 days, but she said, and it's actually on a YouTube, she said that, what's that, like, Ukraine, we will win in 2 days. Like, what the hell? All right, but it's like a mystery that probably sometime in the future we will reveal. We have an update coming.
Having this kind of European Swedish family relations kind.
I think no. I think it's like Russian family relations.
Mm-hmm.
It's something absolutely different, I believe. But you're looking at a bunch of Russian IDs, right? And it's not what you think, because all those guys have joined the Russian freedom fighters, and currently they joined the armed forces of Ukraine. And this post comes from the Russian Voluntary Corps that speaks about the Russian people who actually came to Ukraine and basically joined the Russian Freedom Corps Russian Voluntary Corps in order to fight against Russian invaders, which I think is absolutely proper thing to do. Literally, we're looking at least a platoon of people right there. If you are watching me, dear Russians, I think you do, because we have there were 3 dislikes, now there's 2 dislikes. I don't know, maybe you changed your mind, at least one of them did. But if you're watching this and if you speak English, please do this way, all right? Because this is a proper thing to do, all right? If you want to show that you fight against Putin, don't fight against Putin, I don't know, in your imagination. You can literally sign contract with the Russian freedom fighters in Ukraine, or with literally other unit of the armed forces of Ukraine, and literally help your country if you want to see it democratic and free. This is something that I can applaud. So we have a very good update from Slovenia, actually, the one that I talked about. Slovenia joined the PURL initiative and assigned funds for buying American weapons for Ukraine. This was reported by the Premier Minister of the country, Mr. Golob. He didn't reveal what sum of money was assigned by Slovenia due to the secrecy of this information, due to the OPSEC. How cool is that? Have you been to Slovenia, Paul?
No, not yet. But yeah, I've been to Poland, to Greece, and to Armenia. Those 3 countries right now. But never to Slovenia yet.
We gotta go sometime.
Yeah. What about Czechia for the beer?
Czechia for the beer, 100%. And I tell you what, Stalker 2.
Yeah, of course.
So last year I messaged the developers of Stalker 2, actually, and I said that I will be absolutely happy to make a report about their studio and their work, and because actually in the game they use a lot of weaponry that I used myself, like Ford 221 rifles, 224 and stuff like that, so that would be amazing. And Matjaž Horvat is right there right now, by the way, there in the chat. It's very good to know. So, and they actually replied. They said that as soon as we have opportunity, that would be absolutely fantastic. So, Czechia is a really cool place that I would definitely like to see. And they also have a lot in common with us, by the way, considering that they were also, part of this evil empire and stuff like that. And by the way, so in Kyiv, I lived in the place not far from the Darnitsky concentration camp, actually. That was concentration camp in the First World War, then between the wars, then in the Second World War, where first there were Soviet people were kept there, Ukrainians mostly, then German soldiers were kept there by Soviets after the war. So it was like a freaking death factory. But the fact is, Yaroslav Hasek was kept in this camp. and like I was surprised to know. And I believe I even saw like barrack where he actually lived. But anyways, here we have like very, very interesting video coming from Russians that returned.
I see that, and I remember the story that Hashek was a very strong supporter of the communist regime, but then he was kept in a concentration camp by the communists, and he got an illness there and later died of that. Because
because you never trust communists. And here we have some very interesting video, again coming from the Russian invaders, who suddenly discovered that the houses where their guys were residing are actually burning.
Пацаны наши, хата горит, пидоры, разъебали. Пиздец.
So basically they're just running away and they're like, panic, our guys are there or were there, oh my god, Ukrainians hit us and stuff like that. It's so cool. It's beautiful. Here we have an OSINT actually showing what part of the Feodosia fuel storage was actually hit by Ukrainian drones and missiles. And we can see that basically majority of those fuel tanks are no more there.
So there's plenty of them.
Yeah, and these were destroyed even earlier, like these in the center. So that's a good result, I tell you that. So Russia is trying to test the borders of the European Union and is ready to shift to the hot phase of the war with Europe in any moment, according to the chief of the Federal Intelligence of Germany. It's a very interesting article actually, but I think it comes from like Bloomberg. I'm not a big fan of Bloomberg though. However, again, we can constantly hear from all sorts of intelligence agencies basically saying the same. Also, we have information from Kommersant, from the Russian outlet that says that Russian export in August decreased by 17%, which basically means that the money for the war are depleting. Peskov, again, we're mentioning Peskov so much tonight, oh my god. He said that if Chisinau keeps resisting Russia for good relations with Europe, well, basically the country will not face anything good. So this was the reaction of Moscow that reacted to a new military doctrine of Moldova, where Russia is directly assigned as the new primary threat for the country, which is a proper thing to do. And generally, we are reaching the end of tonight's stream. Actually, there's several more interesting videos that I wanted to show you, my dear friends. But it's so late already. It's past midnight here in Europe, in Germany, and in the eastern part of Europe is, I believe, past 1 a.m. Yeah, so yeah. I believe that it's a good opportunity to call it a night. Big thanks to you, Paul, for joining us tonight, because this stream became, I think, 10 times better with you.
I hope I could help with that. I was like, Andrei is streaming, I'm gonna chip in.
Absolutely. Always welcome here. I think that our dear family there in the chat is always happy to see you. And also, my dear friends, we will talk about food a bit later, all right? Maybe tomorrow, okay? Because it's not a good time for food. However, it's always good time for food. All right, I'm joking.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, thank you so much for your experience with that trip to Armenia. It was actually very interesting to see how actually the situation changed.
It was interesting indeed, because you couldn't imagine that a year ago. Like, it was a completely pro-Russian stance with Pashinyan. And did you check out his Instagram account? Just go to Instagram and write Pashinyan and watch him making shashlik and doing this kind of stuff into the screen, and then just sitting sad and listen to music in front of his laptop. So he's such a guy.
Прости меня, моя любовь, and he's like...
Yeah, he was listen to Zemfira, yeah? Like that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
That says a lot about Armenian politics, because there's complete freedom of speech in that country. I was really curious that everyone can curse everyone and there will be no responsibility. You can literally curse Pashinyan for all sins of humanity, and Pashinyan can do the same with his rivals, and it is a normal case in Armenia. Later on, they can go to the same restaurant.
For Ukrainians, that's like heaven, because Ukrainians love doing that, basically. We love to curse everyone. Ukrainians have no gods, no kings, we don't care. Oh my God. All right, my dear friends and family, thank you so much for staying with us. As always, big thanks to all the members and the moderators for providing us with the security guarantees tonight, and also big thanks to all the supporters of Ukraine for what you're doing, because it's absolutely legendary. Paul, thank you so much, my friends. And friends, have something good. Have something good and tasty. Treat yourself with something yummy, because we all deserve that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a nice evening, everyone.
Yeah. And as always, be safe.